Hi everyone, this is your English teacher Guillermo Marcancelo. I hope everyone is doing fine. Today we have another lesson with a new topic. In this opportunity, we'll be looking at the contrast between the present simple and the present continuous. First of all, what is the correct use of the present simple and the present continuous? You have to remember that the present simple is the one we use for habitual actions. For example, in the sentence I get up early every day, what we want to say is that this is a repeated action. We do it every day. Then we can also use the present simple for permanent situations, as in the example I live in a small city. And of course, there is another use of the present simple that is very important for facts, since they are always the same. For example, if you say water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, this is something that never changes. This is a fact. Now, in the case of the present continuous, we have two main uses, essential uses. One is for actions happening now. What's going on at the moment? For example, I'm using my computer now for recording this. Then, another use of the present continuous is for temporary situations that are only for a short period of time. Look at the example. It says, I'm doing a 1-month course in New York, only for a month. And then that's it. So this is the idea. It's temporary. Now let's compare the structures for both the present simple and the present continuous in the affirmative form. In the case of the present simple, when the subject is I, you, they, we just use an infinitive verb. Look at the example. You say, I work hard. But when the subject is he, she, or it, that is to say the third person singular, we need to add an infinitive verb, but there are some changes we have to provide depending on the ending of the verb. Most verbs add just s. For example, she works hard, just s. But when the verb ends in final s, sh, ch, x, z, or o, we have to add es. Look at the example you had there. You say he watches TV all day. You see that after ch we use es, and in the pronunciation we say he watches TV all day. The third case is the one that corresponds to a consonant plus y. In this case, what we have to do is remove y and then add es, and we get Tom studies at university. Then let's go to the use of the present continuous in the affirmative form. Well, in the affirmative form, we just have the subject, the verb to be, and the ing form of the main verb. So, depending on the subject, we change the form of the verb to be. We say I am, or the short form, as you can see at the bottom, I'm. With you that we are, and with he, she, it is. Of course, we also have short forms for you, the we. You can say your, their, or we're. Or for he, she, it, his, she's, its. But don't forget the ing form of the verb. So the sentence is, we're studying the present continuous. You see, that is a sentence saying we're studying the present continuous in which we have the subject, the verb to be, and an ing form of the verb. Don't forget the verb to be. That is the typical mistake. Don't forget the verb to be. The present continuous is not just ing. It's the verb to be plus ing. Now, as I said before, this ing in the present continuous is very important. So, we have to be careful when we add this ing, because there are some spelling rules. If the adjective ends in consonant, vowel consonant, on a stressed syllable, we double the final consonant and add ing. Run becomes running, but we double n. Never ever double a final w, x, or y. And so, for example, in the verb row, you spell it rowing with only one w. Another case is when you have a verb ending in final e. Well, when the verb ends in final e, we remove e and then we add ing. Smile becomes smiling. And the last case is, that is a typical mistake, when a verb ends in final y, don't remove y. We just add ing directly. So y stays there. Study becomes studying with y plus ing. Now let's continue with the structures having to do with the negative sentences in the present simple and present continuous. The present simple uses an auxiliary verb that is don't for subjects I, you, they, we. And in the case of he, she, it, doesn't. But the verb in the negative sentence never ever takes s, es, or is. It's just infinitive. So we say we don't study French at school, we don't study, infinitive form of the verb, and with he, she, it, we say Steve doesn't. There in the verb doesn't we have the s. Live, no doesn't, lives. Doesn't live in London. Now if we analyze the present continuous, it's very simple because we just make negative the verb to be. Instead of saying I'm, you say I'm not. Instead of saying are, we say aren't, and that is the pronunciation, aren't. And in the case of he, she, it, isn't. So we get a sentence like we aren't studying the past simple. We're studying the present continuous in contrast with the present simple. We aren't. He isn't. I'm not. Now, we get to the point in which we have to analyze the interrogative sentence. For the present simple, we also use the auxiliary verb do. For I, you, they, we, an infinitive verb. For example, you say, do you like coffee? Yes, I do. No, I don't. We use do for the question and we finish with do or don't. In the case of he, she, it, we don't use do, we use does. Plus he, she, it, plus infinitive verb. The verb takes no s. Does John live in London? Is yes he does, no he doesn't. Of course, we also have questions in which we have interrogative words like where, what, when. In that case, we place that word at the beginning. You say WH word do or does plus subject plus infinitive verb. The question is, where do you live? And you answer, I live in Argentina. Where do you live? In the case of the present continuous, for the question, we have first the interrogative word, if there is an interrogative word. The verb to be goes before the subject, and then of course the ing verb. In the present continuous is always ing form of the verb. For example, you say, what are you doing? I'm studying English. You see, ing, doing, and in the answer, I'm studying English, studying. In the case of a yes-no question, you say, are you listening to music? You say, yes, I am, or no, I'm not. So first, the verb to be, then the subject, and then the ing form of the verb. Something special you have to take into account is the use of stay verbs. What is a stay verb? Well, a stay verb is a verb that is never used in a continuous tense or in continuous tenses, including, of course, the present continuous. Why not? Well, because these verbs refer to mental states. They are not actions. So you can't use the ing form for a mental state. These verbs are the most common ones, like love, hate, remember, forget, believe, know. There are some others that are also used like this that are never used with the ing form. There are the verb to be. This is a very special one because there are some cases in which you can use being, but it's very special. Need, mean, want, belong, cost, or mind. In the case of the verb have is never used in the continuous form when it indicates possession. For example, you say, I have a brother. No, I'm having a brother. But when the verb have indicates an action like have lunch, have dinner, have breakfast, have fun, have a shower, have a bath, different actions, in those cases there is no problem. Yes, you can use it in the continuous tense. You can say, I'm having fun, I'm having a shower, or I'm having breakfast. Well, and finally, these are expressions that can be used in the present simple or in the present continuous. This is very useful when you have to decide to make a choice, when you have to complete an exercise, and you don't know whether to use the present simple or the present continuous. If you find others of frequency, like always, usually, often, sometimes, hardly ever, never, or expressions like once a week, once a month, once a year, twice a week, a month, a year, 3 times a week, every day, expressions with every day, every week, every year, well, all those expressions are the ones we use with the present simple. Now, in the case of the present continuous, the expressions we can use are at the moment, now, today, these days, expressions with this week, this month, this year, or the expression currently. Well, and in this way we get to the final remarks. This is just to sum up, to complete the idea. This is what you have to remember when we talk about the contrast between the present simple and the present continuous. The present simple refers to a habitual action, what you do every day. Habitual means routine, means something you do every day or from time to time. Now, in the case of the present continuous, we refer to an action occurring now, at the moment. So it's an action that is happening at the time you are speaking. Okay? So that is the main idea, the main concept you have to remember. Well, see you next class, and I hope everybody is okay. Take care. See you next class.